Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
With me, Josh Howie, on the show tonight.
He said something that he shouldn't have done. It was silly. Does it really make him a criminal? Should we be putting people like him and I in prison? Absolutely not.
Lucy Connelly was freed this week, sparking a debate on whether the law should be changed after social media hate prosecutions have skyrocketed. Plus, Andrew Doyle will be joining us from across the pond to discuss the latest speech arrest. A man arrested for singing "We Love Bacon" while protesting the building of a new mosque. Also,
he can't stop us from singing Delilah, can he?
Should singers have to explain that lyrics aren't literal before singing them? And we've got some funny comedians joining me to answer some crazy cultural conundrums from our live studio audience. But first, the news with Lewis Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Josh. Good evening. It's just after 7 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. The government is set to overhaul the asylum appeal system to fast-track the process of removing people who have no right to stay in the UK. A new independent panel will be established with the aim of hearing cases more quickly and reducing the backlog. Around 51,000 appeals are waiting to be heard, taking on average more than a year to reach a decision. Conservative MP Matt Vickers says that the plans do not go far enough.
The reality is more people coming in the country, in fact, record levels, more people in hotels, less of those people arriving in small boats are being removed. But are we surprised? We shouldn't be surprised, because when Keir Starmer was leader of the opposition, he voted against every single measure brought forward to toughen up our immigration system. And this is a guy who campaigned against the deportation of foreign criminals. That's what the Labour Party's about. They're not on the side of the British people. They're on the side of illegal immigrants and criminals who should be getting sent home.
Criminals in England and Wales could be banned from pubs, concerts and sporting grounds under plans to hand out tougher community sentences. Offenders could also face limits on driving and travel bans, and those who break the conditions could face even tougher punishments. The new measures are part of the government's plan to tackle overcrowding in prisons by finding alternatives to custody. Nigel Farage says he'll share Lucy Connelly's story when he gives evidence at a free speech hearing in Washington next month. Miss Connelly was released from prison last week after being jailed for 31 months over a social media post in the aftermath of the Southport attacks. The Reform UK leader will testify to members of Congress about the threats of freedom of expression in Britain. He says Miss Connelly's case is central to his point. And finally, celebrations for the Notting Hill Carnival kicked off. That's right, dating back to 1966, the annual Caribbean Carnival takes over the famous London borough with food, drink, music and, of course, lots of dancing. Festival chairman Ian Comfort told the crowd he was pleased the carnival was happening after its future was in jeopardy due to funding earlier this year. But the festival is not without its controversies. The Met Police arrested 100 people and seized dozens of weapons ahead of this weekend. With 7,000 officers being deployed to keep the peace, the Met are hoping for an uneventful weekend. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. There's more from me in an hour's time.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is a show where we cast our gaze across the spectrum of culture, current affairs and politics, doing our best to bring a bit of common sense to that which has become senseless. Coming up on the show tonight, we'll be debating whether it should be illegal to play loud music on public transport after Ireland brings in new fines to slap on travellers who are inconsiderate of fellow passengers. Germany and America find themselves struggling to tackle some fresh trans controversies, including the dilemma of whether to put a trans far-right extremist in a men's or women's prison. Plus, the critical drinker will be returning to give us the latest in all things film, including Disney desperately trying to win back young men after recent woke installments flop at the box office. And criminals could be banned from football matches, concerts and the pub under new, tougher sentencing reforms. But first, welcome to the audience. Hello, everybody. Lovely to have you here. Let's have a big round of applause to yourselves. Look at this. I was worried, of course, we lost a few of our audience to the carnival this weekend, but thank you guys for coming in. That was a joke. So, first, Paul Weller, the legendary frontman of The Jam, is taking legal action against his former accountants. The firm, Harris and Trotter, ended a 30-year professional relationship after Mr. Weller publicly accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. The musician claims this was unlawful discrimination against his philosophical beliefs. He says speaking out about injustice is not censorship, it's a duty. Any damages from the case will go to humanitarian relief in Gaza. His lawyers warn this reflects a broader attempt to silence artists supporting Palestinian rights. The accounting firm has yet to comment. So, is this another example of cancel culture? And should you be forced to work for somebody if you're offended by what they think? To discuss this, I am joined by journalist Nicole Lamper and writer and commentator Jonathan Sacher-Doty. Welcome to the show, both of you. there's a saying, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Now we've got 3 Jews, so I'm not sure exactly how many opinions we're going to get out here. Also, this debate is a little bit more nuanced, I think, Nicole, because talking before the show, I think it's very hard to come up with a very strict, this is right, this is wrong. But what do you think about this accountancy firm saying we don't want to work with Mr. Weller anymore?
Well, I think, like, reading into it, firstly, a few months before they did all of this, that he asked them about whether any of their money was going to Israel. So presumably he would have cancelled them if it had been the other way around. And also this happened in March, but it's only just come out. And I think he wants to basically be made a martyr of this. He's seen what's happened with NECAT. He's been part of that. And he wants to appropriate victimhood himself. As to whether they should be allowed to cancel him, I think that in this case, it's not about cancel culture. He can go to any other accountancy firm in the world. But it's about people saying, we don't want to work with you and we're dealing with your money, and some of that money that he is earning is going to be going to a side that we don't agree with. So actually, in this case, having thought about it overnight since we talked yesterday, I'm for them. I think that
you're for it. Yeah. I mean, there is a difference, Jonathan, isn't there, between a service, an essential service, and there's something like Nigel Farage, he being debanked, and in this case, an accountancy firm. There are many other accountants out there, right?
That's right. I mean, when I thought about this, on the one hand, I instinctively thought it was wrong for somebody to be denied a service for their political opinions, however stupid or misguided they might be. And on the other hand, I think it's probably the right of an independent company to decide who it does business with. And so I am a bit torn. I remember those cases where there were people trying to force cake companies run by religious Christians to make wedding cakes for gay people, and I was entirely against forcing those people to make those cakes. I felt it was sort of deliberately inflammatory and unnecessary, and that they had every right to turn down business for that reason. But then on the other hand, I thought, how would I think it would be if, say, any company turned down business from, say, a Muslim because they're Muslim, or a Jew because they're Jewish? And of course I would think that's entirely wrong. So I don't know really quite where to draw the lines on this one. And in this case, I don't think it's the same as a religion or an ethnicity, as Judaism is, as well as a religion, unlike Islam. But I do think that in this case, as Nicole said, it was clear that he also was concerned about what they did with their partners' charitable money, whether they were giving money to any Israeli causes. And indeed, the text message conversation that was reported in the Times indicated that actually Paul Weller said, fine, let's leave it there. And there was apparently an agreement that they didn't really want his business because he kept calling it a genocide that was going on in Gaza, and they made it clear to him that they didn't feel that was correct. And he said, well, in that case, I don't want to do business with you. So at that point, it seemed that actually they had agreement over that, and that since then, he's decided to lawyer up and take this to court. And I think in the letter of the lawyer, the quote said that this was part of his philosophical belief, that he had this non-negotiable belief that there was a genocide going on in Gaza. Now, that's peculiar because I don't think that it is a philosophical belief. Or indeed non-negotiable, because either there is a genocide or there isn't a genocide, and that's a question of fact. I could have a non-negotiable belief that Paul Weller is genocidal. I would be wrong in that case, as far as I'm aware. So I think it's a strange thing to say that that is a non-negotiable philosophical belief that should be protected by the law.
Yeah, because we saw a case where Maya Forstater, she took her old employers to court because her belief that there are only men and women, that there are just two sexes, that was then protected as a belief deserving of respect. So it'll be interesting to hear if this sets a precedent in any way, that there's a difference between having an opinion of something and then having it as a protected belief.
Yeah, I think I'm really pleased that Maya Forstater won her case, because it would be absolutely mental if she hadn't, and she didn't originally. But the idea that you can believe that you cannot change sex, you might decide you're a different gender, and you might ask people to call you that, but that does not mean that you change gender. And similarly, we've also seen off the back of that, we've seen a court case involving a professor at Bristol University who is a kind of a big anti-Zionist and an inflammatory anti-Zionist, and he was teaching anti-Zionist material at school at his university. And he also won his court case because of this idea of protected belief. And as a result, anti-Zionism itself is a protective belief. And as a result of that, then Zionism is a protective belief too. But yes, the idea of whether thinking that is any thought possibly a protected belief, is, as Jonathan said, impossible to say. And is it necessary to go to court to demand this when he didn't want to work with them, they didn't want to work with him, and as I think this is mainly about him trying to become a martyr, like Kneecap.
It certainly reads the statement like he's somehow victimised here. But we have seen it both ways. And when you see it the other way, there was a barber I believe it was in America, where she heard an accent and said, "Where are you from?" And he said he's from Israel, and she refused to cut his hair. So that's refusing your services, but that's slightly different because that arguably is bigotry, because she is basing her belief system on just the fact that this person is Israeli or Jewish, not as to what they necessarily think, even though the majority of Jews are Zionists, right?
Right, but I also think it would be strange, even if we drew the line there, to say that you have to do a questionnaire before you have your hair cut or before you go to an accountant because you're Israeli or not Israeli, whether you're a Zionist or not a Zionist, if you think it's a genocide or not a genocide, if you want a penis-shaped cake for your wedding, or if you want to have banking but you happen to lead a right...
By the way, it was a delicious cake. Just want to say...
I just think that, in general, I err on the side of saying, let's just do business with one another. Let's not ask too many questions about each other's beliefs that have nothing to do with what the business we're engaging with. And on the other hand, I can also completely understand that somebody might be very uncomfortable. Harrison Trotter, predominantly Jewish firm, as I understand it, they felt very strongly that somebody who was out in public so passionately saying that this was a genocide, they felt that this had a knock-on effect on Jews, both in the land of Israel, the Jewish state, and also outside in the Jewish diaspora. And I think they found that very difficult dealing with his business. But they'd been dealing with his business for something like 30 years. And I don't suppose his views are particularly new on this topic. So maybe they'd been managing all that time. It's really complicated and difficult. I just wish that they could have had a polite conversation with one another and agreed maybe we're no longer suited to working together. And that would have been a more grown-up way of dealing with it.
That is a very interesting idea, because trying to come to some kind of where the lines are in all of this conversation of cancellation, I was wondering if genuinely part of the solution might be you can refuse to use someone's services or refuse to give your own services across, but you should be forced to have like a 30-minute conversation and try and persuade the other side as to your argument or not. That, I mean, I'm not saying that that's...
It's not free speech, that's forced speech.
Yeah. Well, no, it's forcing them to have forced debate. I guess it's forced speech there that you have to then at least be given the opportunity to explain why it is that you think what it is. Because, of course, so much of the time, people, it's not what someone actually says, but what someone is being perceived to be saying. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's in any way realistic of happening, but it's unfortunate that that isn't where we can't move to as a culture.
I think that one of the things that is probably quite hard to understand for a non-Jewish person is how painful it is when someone like Paul Weller is standing up for a group like Kneecap, which he's made a big deal out of, when they have been on stage allegedly saying up Hamas, up Hezbollah. So up the people that murdered all of these people in Israel. And I think that is one of the things. So if you were like French people in a firm and you were calling the France genocidal, then they would be upset too. And it's harder to explain. We're British Jews, and they're probably British Jews too, but how closely connected the Jewish state, the Jewish nation has been, and how difficult it's been in the last couple of years since October 7, and how things have got worse and worse.
You're seeing a swastika drawn today outside a Jewish man's house in Bournemouth.
Yeah, outside a rabbi's house. And every day there are different things, and that's, I think that's one of the problems. If that person seems to be not just having a belief, but actually to be having a belief that is on the side of the people that want to kill you, on the people, I would say that Hamas are genocidal, and they've been quite open about their desire to kill all Jews. And although I'm not saying that Paul Weller is necessarily on the side of Hamas, his wife has certainly done some Instagram messages defending what they did. So I can see why they would feel personally upset and personally unable to deal with that in a way that kind of goes to your core.
Yeah, and actually, I'll say, in addition to that, again, it's not about the legality of it or whether they should or shouldn't work with one another, but some of the things that I read the lawyers said were ridiculous. This, aside from this protected philosophical belief that it is definitely a genocide, there was also the idea of kneecap, that the support for kneecap was such that he said they were being deplatformed and silenced. Now, they've certainly not been silenced. I'd never heard of them until this, and I've heard a lot about them and their views.
There's this sort of Barbra Streisand effect,
right,
or whatever.
And the point is, though, that anti-Israel and even anti-Jewish views are far from deplatformed and silenced. They're all over the place, all around the world. They're mainstream now. So, in fact, I would say that standing up for kneecap really, for me, reveals part of the problem with a lot of the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel campaign groups' line of logic, because you can be in favour of protecting Palestinian people, even Palestinian nationhood, if you believe in that, without supporting people who are literally charged with or in court for allegedly showing support for terrorist groups, waving Hezbollah flags, outwardly expressing support for terrorist groups. And I think that's what really shows the truth.
Well, I think there's hypocrisy, and I guess the fear is being hypocritical yourself on this issue. But thank you very much. I'm going to read. Paul Weller has got a statement here. Silencing those who speak the truth is not just censorship, it's complicity. I'm taking legal action, not just myself, but to help ensure that others who are not similarly punished for expressing their beliefs about the rights of the Palestinian people. Law firm Harris and Trotter have been contacted for comment. Thank you very much for both of you joining for that particular interesting debate. So next on Free... let's have a quick round of applause. Why not? Next on Free Speech Nation, we'll be answering questions from a live studio audience where we will discuss whether singers should have to explain the lyrics that aren't literal before singing them. Can you take a guess what that's about? Find out more after the break. See you in a second.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yes, this evening are Jonathan Cogan and Cresta Wetton. How are you folks? I haven't seen you for a little bit.
No, it's been a little while. Been gallivanting all over the place, really.
Gallivanting, look at you.
I learned a new word.
You under 40-year-old. Cresta, have you been gallivanting?
Well, I've been caught up in the Notting Hill traffic on the way here tonight. Some very sophisticated outfits.
Well, if you insist on stopping for a bit of grinding, that's as far as I'm concerned.
Well.
So let's get some questions from our audience. Our first question is from Roger.
Hello. Are potholes racist?
Yes, potholes, are they racist? Frustrated with how long it takes for the council to fix potholes, vigilante Ben Thornbury has started painting them with patriotic St George's flags after he noticed how quickly some councils have been to jump on the flags and get them removed. So this seems pretty inventive to me, Roger. What do you think?
I'm not sure.
It's
very strange. It's all very.
But you understand this is raising the colours, and they sort of saw this as an opportunity to get. So, are you a fan of potholes?
No.
Big fan. Big fan of potholes.
No, I don't
think anyone's a fan of potholes.
No, well, exactly. I mean, this guy is a pothole expert.
Yes.
He's obsessed with them, and he's all about getting them filled.
Right.
This is not the first.
He needs a girlfriend, which is fine.
He does.
We all do.
Okay, fine.
You can't make love to a pothole.
Joke about.
Yeah.
But
and you decided not to say it. I said it.
Yeah. Well, but what do you
having sex with a pothole?
There we go. He said it. What do you think, Cresta? Is it? I mean, is it racist? Is it a way of? It's just a clever way of drawing attention.
It's very convenient for him, isn't it? And of course, now the joke is people are going to put these on everything they don't like. Badly behaved spouses are going to have flags painted on their faces. I think
put one on Sadiq Khan if you're asked. That's what I would do.
There you go. Exactly.
I don't know why I'm doing the voice. That's half our viewers. It shouldn't be.
And they would agree with what you said.
Quite right.
But I mean, the irony is, of course, that painting these potholes is actually making them better for health and safety.
Yes, because the councils keep saying, well, we can't put a flag on it, it's not good for health, and flags can kill people, which is sort of technically true, but not in that context.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're going to fight for this pothole!
Well, there you can see the pothole a mile off, not a mile off, but it's bright white at night, that's great. He's doing lots of good work.
Yeah. Well, with the whole flag situation, I've seen all kind of people getting involved. I actually saw one guy hanging a French flag out of his window, but then I realised it was just a white bedsheet.
OK! Next question is from... is from Arvind.
Are boys becoming illiterate?
Yes, are boys becoming illiterate? The number of boys studying English A-level has halved since 2009, with teachers blaming smartphones and a soulless GCSE reading syllabus. So this is slightly concerning. You're a boy, literally.
Yeah, as far as they know, yeah.
What do you think about this? I mean, the fact it's gone down over half over the last 6 years, or I'm not very good at maths either.
No, fair enough. What do I think? I think it's a right indictment of the day we live in. No, I don't actually think that. What do I think? I think, yeah, it's a shame because literature actually allows you to sort of formulate your worldview quite well. You get to experience the most human side of reality, really, through books. But at the same time, it's quite boring compared to video games. So I get it. Sometimes you just want to be...
But it's not just that, Cresta. It teaches children how to focus, long-form narrative. They're increasing their vocabulary, ability to communicate. So but certainly part of it seems to be suggested that it is social media and video games.
I absolutely understand that it's the scrolling, the screens, get rid of them. I agree with that. I don't agree that it's because we don't have good stuff to read. I love all the 19th century, everyone's dying of consumption, melancholy. That suited me. I enjoyed that. All the Heathcliff stuff.
But you grew up in the north, didn't you?
It's only dated 5 years.
I'm surprised that boys don't like those books, but then again, I'm friends with lots of comedians and sort of alcoholic poets, aren't you? So I don't know any normal men.
Just alcoholics.
You leave Lewis Schaefer out of this, OK?
maybe it's something that neither of you two might be able to appreciate, is actually when you take your children to bookshops to try to get them into reading and go, OK, guys, you can buy whatever book you like, it's very hard to actually find modern stuff for boys.
It's like Baby's First Jihad, it's all that stuff. It's not really what you want. Have you read that?
I haven't. It's,
okay.
No, yeah, thank you for the recommendation. But that is, arguably, publishing is failing children at a young age, and certainly boys at a young age, to entice them into reading.
And ironically, movies are doing that as well, as we'll find out later on with The Critical Drinker. It does seem to be like a dearth of interesting new IP to get boys interested in stuff. Like, I do read a lot. One thing I will say, conversely to this, is that in the whole kind of like YouTube, your like Rogan and Chris Williamson sphere, they all talk about books a lot. They have reading lists, all that kind of thing. So I do think there is a bit of kickback to this, but maybe it's just the actual GCSE years.
I would love to read a Jordan Peterson children's book.
Oh, he's written one. He's written one.
He's written one?
Yeah.
What's it called? The Lobster. OK, there's a lot.
Don't be a bitch.
Yeah. Our next question's from Luke.
Good evening. Josh, Jonathan.
Hello.
Who's the daddy?
Who's the daddy? Yes. We should explain this before.
More of a situationship.
Non-binary new parent has complained of being called dad or daddy by hospital staff, even though he found it sweet and overwhelming in a good way. Tom Pashby also found it quite jarring because dad or daddy, masculine gendered terms, didn't fit with his gender identity. Have you heard about this story? This is someone being very whiny and making himself the victim in this story.
Yes, I have. And there is a word in the English language which is a mix between mum and dad for him already, which is mad. So.
Or dumb. Or dumb.
Or dumb, yeah.
Or dumb. I just want to apologise for Jonathan saying a B word.
What did I say? No, I've been here for 10 minutes and I've already got an apology.
Go and read your book in the corner.
I can't read, Josh. I can't read. Baby's First Jihad was too challenging for me.
So, Cresta, you read this as well?
I did.
And, yeah, he was genuinely like, there's no terms for someone who's a they-them parent.
Yeah, I mean, it's just extraordinary. I've always thought that one of the joys of becoming a parent would be that you are no longer the child.
You can tell. I don't know whether that's a man or a woman.
It's always the ones you most expect.
They've got pink hair. It's very confusing for that poor child.
So the focus is all on him, isn't it? And not the child. I mean, when you get a new baby, surely you're like, oh my God, I've got a baby! And that's what you think about, not yourself.
No, you've got to think about how it reflects on you, and you've got to mess the kid up as much as you can by forcing your own narcissism down his throat. That's how you be a good parent.
Well, that's what happened.
No clap for that.
Obviously. His parents are using the B word all around him when he was a kid.
You leave my they, their mama alone.
Well, actually, Cresta, it's funny you say that because I just want to read this quote out. He said, this is from his article, they-them article. When we arrived at the delivery suite on Tuesday night, I did tell the lead midwife that my pronouns were they-them, and she responded, as I hope, positively and respectfully, but at that moment, I was not the priority.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Oh, God.
Wife is in labour, and you're sort of going, no, get my pronouns, get my pronouns.
She's bleeding out.
Narcissism off the scale.
Unbelievable.
It's going to get one of those best dad ever mugs and... Sorry!
Best question mark ever. Our final question for the moment is from Sean.
OK, should singers explain that the lyrics they're singing are not literal before singing them?
Yes, so this is about Tom Jones, who recently received boos of support. That's how they framed it.
Boos of support.
I know, it's ridiculous. From his audience after going on a rant about the censorship of his famous ballad, Delilah, at a live show at Cardiff Council. Let's have a little look.
He can't stop us from singing Delilah, can he? Oh, and I used to look forward to that when I used to watch the Welsh playing rugby, and I thought, oh, here comes Delilah. Oh, well. Never mind. I mean, the choir can't sing it, but the audience does.
So, Sean, you actually work in the industry. What do you think?
I've worked with everybody in the business, more or less. I can safely say that I don't think any singer, before they sing a song, thinks about whether the lyrics are literal or not. They just enjoy singing the song and hope the fans like it. So in the case of that, he's right to say that why should they tinker with the song that's a classic at this point? And there's nothing in there that I could think is going to cause anybody any offence, really.
No, absolutely. And next week we actually have Tom Jones here presenting Free Speech Nation.
That'd be great.
Cresta, what do you think? Do you think that all artists should be forced to deal with the most problematic aspects of their work before presenting them?
No, because we project onto the songs, don't we? We find a song that we like and we find our darkest impulses in the song or whatever. And he can't control what I think of his song.
No, I mean you're a musician, Jonathan, as well.
I do dabs.
You do dabs.
Dabble, yeah.
I mean, do you?
All my songs are literal. All my songs are literal. Anything in a song, I talk about
pimping. Songs, they're really interesting. I'm a loser. I have a small willy.
I can't read that one's. That one's called Being Josh. I'm being rinsed on national television. I told you that in private.
It's great. You should go.
You made me show him it.
So next on Free Speech Nation, Lucy Connelly has been freed this week, sparking a debate on whether the law should.
All right, let's settle this once and for all.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A settled few days across much of the Mediterranean, plenty of hot sunshine across most areas. Just the risk of a few showers, a bit breezy across parts of Greece at the moment, but sunny spells stretching across into Italy and western parts of the Mediterranean as well. Just one or two heavy showers possible, but plenty of dry weather. Again, one or two showers across Madeira. It generally stays dry the next few days, temperatures near average, but an increasing risk of showers by midweek.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine. It's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland, then there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning though, a warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Prosecutions for so-called hate posts on social media have rocketed in the past decade, from just one conviction in 2015 to 44 last year. The law says stirring up racial hatred is a crime under the Public Order Act, but critics argue it's now being used far too widely, clamping down on free speech. It follows the case of Lucy Connelly, jailed for a year over a single racist tweet after the Southport killings. She's now free, and politicians, including Tory leader Kemi Badenoch, say Parliament must urgently review the law. I am joined now by barrister and writer Stephen Barrett. Welcome to the show. Thank you. So, Stephen, Lucy Connelly, she got out this week and she gave an interview to The Telegraph and says that she's essentially a political prisoner.
Yes, and you can fully understand her feeling that. I think we have to recognise that we have a particularly, and this is a personal opinion of mine, so I don't want to embarrass GB News, but we have a particularly weak Prime Minister, and I think he had a reaction to a violent disorder.
There are some people on GB News who might agree with you.
Oh, well, that's very welcome, but I think he had a very... I'm going to say hysterical reaction to a violent disorder that I largely think he created, because having talked to the granddad of a victim and some other people in Southport, there's a very great feeling in Southport that him spending 19 seconds there laying a plastic wreath and then running back to a party with Z-list celebrities really didn't help. And you see a politician...
That's the difference between that and actually exacerbating a situation, right? He might not have made it better, like his job. Some would argue that would be his job, but you can understand the concerns. There were people out there on the streets and him doing what he thought was necessary. Now, obviously, people disagree with that, what his actions were, what his words were.
Well, it followed on from that. So he in his 19-second visit was heckled. And so I think that does cause some of the anger and resentment. And I think across the political spectrum, you get gifted politicians. And it's not party-specific ever. Obama is a very gifted, and Tony Blair are very gifted, emotionally intelligent people. Boris Johnson would have gone and hugged all the mums of all the victims. He would have gone. You know, that's what would have happened. And there would have been a much better understanding, because we're only humans, we have an emotional reaction.
People are reacting to that horror.
Yes, of course they are. And of course many people were deeply upset at what happened to those poor innocent girls. The Prime Minister, with his hysterical reaction, managed to turn the entire narrative into imprisoning a mum in Hertfordshire. I mean, all of the attention has been taken off those girls and those victims, when many of us feel deep, heartfelt, emotional outpourings for them. And then what irritates me most about Southport is the heroes of it never get enough attention at all. There was a gentleman who rented an office opposite the dance studio who ended up getting stabbed in the leg because he did what any human being would do and tried to protect those children, protect those girls. The marvellous lady who ran the dance class, whose life has been shattered by this, who had to go into very serious medical treatment. These people have not become household names. They haven't done, again, what I think any politician with emotional intelligence would do, which is, I mean, I'd give him a knighthood and her a damehood. What are they for, if not for honouring people who will self-sacrifice in defence of our children? You know, and so the Prime Minister has focused on this. It's quite right for Lucy Connelly to call him out. I think many of us on the legal side are quite angry that she pled guilty. I think I have a lot... Because, you know, lawyers obsess about words, and I think I've tried to explain this to the public, and I'll carry on trying to explain this to the public, but we can obsess about, like, one word at a time. But the words I obsess about with Lucy Connelly are, if I care.
Yeah.
Because that really seems to indicate that she's not inciting violence.
Because it should be said, the American system for this kind of law is that you have to prove that you meant to incite violence and prove that it actually did incite violence.
Yes.
And you could argue that neither of those, in this case, conditions were met.
I think the prosecution would never be able to establish it on an American standard. I question whether they could on a British standard. I caveat that by saying I'm not a criminal lawyer, but again, the act of interpreting words is universal to all lawyers. I sort of push back against this siloing of lawyers.
So is the problem, do you think, the law itself, then?
The law was flabbily drafted. The problem, I think, was that she was denied bail. I think the simple reality of being denied bail is that you are in an incredibly grim space without a window, probably, with a little metal lavatory with no wash basin, no sink, and a bed that's designed that you can't take anything off it to damage the room, yourself, or do any harm. And then you're left without any stimulus for hours and hours and hours. And then you have a government-paid-for lawyer who comes and advises you. And I got into this discussion with not all criminal lawyers hate me, Josh, but I got into this with a retired criminal solicitor who I like very much. But I have a very clear line, because I'm not a criminal solicitor, so I had to worry a lot about being sued if I got things wrong. Okay? My house is on the line if I make a mistake. So if a client comes to me and says, should I sue X over, £5 million, and I know my insurance is £2.5 million, I'm now worried about my house. And they come to me and I will advise them, and I'll say, well, this is the strength of your case on its merits, and I might give a percentage-based assessment. I'd never give a 100% assessment. That would be insane. I don't actually know any commercial barrister who gives over 80, because you've got to have fat. And the one thing, if the client looks you in the eye and says, should I sue, you have to look them right back and say, that is entirely your decision. That is not for me.
But in this case, the incentives aren't there in that
way. No, the incentives all go the other way, and I do worry that the criminal solicitors, because this criminal solicitor was honest, he was like, well, actually, we probably would, tell them you probably should plead guilty. And that is crossing a line between being an expert giving advice and telling someone what to do. And I don't know the specifics of Lucy's case, but I would worry at the pressures that were grinding down on her at that time.
I mean, there's been a marked increase, about 58%, since COVID, since lockdowns. So we seem to be moving in the wrong direction. Whether this country has become 58% more racist or whether the law is being misapplied, that's the other issue. Anyway, thank you very much, barrister writer Stephen Barrett. Next, on Free Speech Nation, a man was allegedly arrested for saying, "We love bacon." Find out what that's all about as Andrew Doyle joins us from across the pond. See you in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth. Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Now, how cooked is free speech? One man has found out the hard way. He was arrested earlier this month while protesting outside an area in the Lake District where a new mosque is planned to be built. The alleged crime, saying "We love bacon" in a sing-song voice. Certainly provocative, but is a truism in Britain. According to Cumbria Police, to prevent crime and disorder, a proactive dispersal order was in place to enable officers to disperse individuals they suspected may commit crime or disorder. So, talking about this is Andrew Doyle, former host of Free Speech Nation. He's there somewhere. He's coming from America. Hey!
Hey! Hi, Josh. How's it going?
Andrew, look at you. You've changed. Your shirt is open.
Yeah. Everything's more free and relaxed in the US of A.
That's it. And you've got an American accent now.
Of the country.
Yeah. So I'm sure you read about this, of course, from America. It probably seemed even more insane from over there.
It did, and I think it's really great that we're talking about it. You know, you're Jewish, I'm a vegetarian. Who better to talk about bacon? But I think it is a very interesting case because, of course, this man, everyone saw the footage. It went on viral online, and we saw this guy outside this Islamic center, which was in the process of construction near to the Lake District, just a few miles south of the Lake District border. A lot of people are protesting about it because they're concerned about the size of the mosque, the impact that it has on the natural beauty and the landscape, all sorts of things. Inevitably, those people are being accused of being racist and Islamophobic and the rest of it. But all of that is kind of a distraction. What's important here is that the gentleman in question, 23-year-old guy, was taken away, put in handcuffs, arrested for doing, as you say, a sing-song, "We love bacon." Now, obviously, we don't want to say too much about that. That's a form of needling, and it's perfectly possible for people to be offended by that. I think if you stood outside a vegan restaurant and sang "We love bacon," that could be considered offensive as well.
That's how I spend my Friday nights.
You do.
Yeah.
I've seen you do it. I think it's deplorable. But should the police be involved? That is the question. And although we don't want to say too much about this specific case at this point, it's worth raising that point. Why is it that the police in this country are arresting people, investigating people so often, so commonly, and of course, as we've seen, people have been going to prison for saying offensive things, posting offensive memes. The idea seems to be now, and it's just taken root completely, that if someone is offended, and if that offence is based on their protected characteristics, you know, race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, etc., then that is sufficient for police involvement. I say, no, not at all. We need a whole rethink about free speech. I think the free speech argument in the UK, I hate to say it, feels like it's been lost now. I think we need to reiterate the basic principle, the basic points that the media class, the political class, largely don't understand these arguments. And I think this is an example of that.
Which you should be able to be free to offend someone.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But I think people's minds have been driven insane over all of this. I mean, we've seen, you were speaking just now about the Lucy Connelly case, and we've seen all sorts of people bending over backwards. I've seen leading barristers and media commentators bending over backwards to make excuses for the simple fact that a woman was in prison for over a year for a tweet hastily deleted, a tweet, by the way, which I've never seen anyone defend the substance of. The point is that we seem to have bought wholesale into this idea that offensive language, offensive words should be punished by the state, that the state should have the right to decide which words are acceptable and which words are not. And that principle is huge. This has never been a debate about whether we approve of someone saying "we love bacon" in front of a mosque, or if we approve of someone saying "burn down hotels for all I care," as in the case of Lucy Connelly. It's never about the endorsement of the substance of what's being said. It's the bigger question, the broader question. Do we want to live in a society where we have empowered the state to decide which language is too far, which language merits a custodial sentence, which language merits police involvement? Because I tell you what, I mean, you can go back to famously, the satirist Juvenal, the Roman satirist, said, "Who watches the watchman?" And that's the key question. Who do you trust in authority to set those parameters? Because I can't think of anyone. I can think of no one in authority who is without bias, without political bias or ideological bias, who will exploit any kind of law to do this. Now, in the case of the We Love Bacon thing, you know, their justification is the Public Order Act of 1986, Section 18 of which talks about insulting language or abusive language. Now, of course, if you locked everyone up or arrested everyone who said something that was abusive or insulting, well, it would clean my Twitter timeline pretty sharpish, and that would be quite nice. But I don't want people who say insulting things to me.
Well, it's also a very hard thing to prove, right? I mean, if this person was in front of a synagogue and saying, or a potential synagogue saying, "We love bacon," I don't think people would be. I certainly, just speaking, I would not be offended as a Jew, someone saying, "We love bacon." So this idea that it's like preempting this kind of offence, like the police officer sort of going, someone could be offended by this. And that's enough.
I don't think most Muslims wouldn't be offended. They just shrug their shoulders and be like, "Oh, what an idiot! Let's move on." You know, it's not really. I mean, also, I think a lot of this has come down to the point that we've decided for some reason that Islam is more of a race than a religion. It's not. It's a belief system. As you say, if someone chants "We love bacon" outside of a mosque, people will just laugh at him and go about their day, outside a synagogue, rather. People don't really care. But this conflation of race and religion is really, really dangerous. It's behind the Labour Party's push to enshrine Islamophobia as a concept in law. What that really is an attempt to chill free speech and to chill criticism of a belief system. But actually, in truth, criticizing the tenets of Islam is no different than criticizing the tenets of vegetarianism, Confucianism, Christianity, anything else that you like. It's a belief system. It's not a race. And we have to, and I come back to this point, we need to restate these basic arguments, these basic principles. No one in a free society has the right not to be offended. No one. That's just not a thing. And we need to really go back to basics on this and try and explain. And in addition to that, we need to get away from this idea that horrible words online will incite real-world violence. That has been disproven again and again over decades of research. That's not a thing. It doesn't happen, right? So the idea that, for instance, Lucy Connelly should have been in prison because she incited violence. No violence was caused as a result of that tweet, and no violence could have been caused as a result of that tweet. In America, they have the Brandenburg test, which is a pretty secure, robust test of what incitement to violence actually means. Her case would come nowhere near to that. But when you're talking about just someone standing outside a building site saying that he likes bacon, that's so absurd. It's so preposterous. And look, that case may probably not lead anywhere. I'm less interested in that case and more about what it tells us about where we are as a society right now, what it tells us about our police force and their belief and their conviction that they are meant to monitor the emotions and thoughts and speech of the public.
Do you think that would be, if there was one thing that we could say that was an action, would you just agree, yes or no, the police have to be educated first, and that would be the first step?
The College of Policing has to be abolished because it is now an activist body that trains the police to believe that it is their role to monitor the speech and emotions of the public, and that's not right. And in addition to that, we need to abolish the hate speech laws that are encoded into the Public Order Act, the Communications Act, and the Malicious Communications Act, which effectively mean that the law can be weaponized to shut people up. It's just not good enough. We're meant to be a free society.
We've got to go. It's lovely seeing you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's the end of the first hour of Free Speech Nation. Don't go away. Plenty more now to come. 9 o'clock.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine, it's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland, then there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well, across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning, though, a warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop to actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week, including... Should it be illegal to blast loud music on public transport? And after a string of woke flops, Disney is scratching their heads as they attempt to win back young male viewers. Plus, controversy in Germany as a trans political extremist is set to serve their sentence in a woman's prison. But first, let's get a news update with Lewis Mackenzie.
Josh, thank you very much. Good evening. It's just after 8 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. The government is set to overhaul the asylum appeal system to fast-track the process of removing people with no right to stay in the UK. A new independent panel will be established with the aim of hearing cases more quickly and reducing the backlog. Around 51,000 appeals are waiting to be heard, taking on average more than a year to reach a decision. Conservative MP Matt Vickers says that the plans don't go far enough.
The reality is more people coming in the country, in fact, record levels, more people in hotels, less of those people arriving in small boats are being removed. But are we surprised? We shouldn't be surprised, because when Keir Starmer was leader of the opposition, he voted against every single measure brought forward to toughen up our immigration system. And this is a guy who campaigned against the deportation of foreign criminals. That's what the Labour Party's about. They're not on the side of the British people. They're on the side of illegal immigrants and criminals who should be getting sent home.
Criminals in England and Wales could be banned from pubs, concerts and sports grounds under plans to hand out tougher community sentences. Offenders could also face limits on driving and travel bans, and those who break the conditions could face even tougher punishments. The new measures are part of the government's plan to tackle overcrowding in prisons by finding alternatives to custody. Nigel Farage says he'll share Lucy Connelly's story when he gives evidence at a free speech hearing in Washington next month. Miss Connelly was released from prison last week after being jailed for 31 months over a social media post in the aftermath of the Southport attacks. The Reform UK leader will testify to members of Congress about the threats to freedom of expression in Britain. He says Miss Connelly's case is central to his point. And finally, celebrations for the Notting Hill Carnival kicked off today. Dating back to 1966, the annual Caribbean Carnival takes place in the famous London Borough, with food, drinks, music and, of course, lots of dancing. Festival chairman Ian Comfort told the crowd he was pleased the carnival was happening after its future was put in jeopardy due to funding cuts. But the festival is not without its controversies. The Met Police arrested 100 people, seized dozens of weapons ahead of this weekend. With 7,000 officers being deployed to keep the peace, the Met are hoping for an uneventful week. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie, and my comedian guests, Jonathan Cogan and Cressida Wetton. There they are. Let's give them a round of applause. We like it. Right, we can get some more questions from our audience. Our first question's from Mark.
Hello there. With all politics getting involved with sports now, should it be made compulsory for one team to respect the other team's national anthem on international events, regardless of politics?
Yes, so yes, should competitors be forced to stand for other countries' national anthem? Britain's wheelchair basketball team has been accused of being deeply disrespectful and offensive after players turned their backs on the Israeli national anthem. What do you think about this, if you don't mind just standing back up and...
I think politics should be totally separated from sports, which is something we've tried to achieve for donkey's years now. And I think it really needs to stay that way, otherwise international sport will go down the window.
Do you think it's disrespectful? I mean, the Paralympics, it is actually... you aren't meant to be making any political statements.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's a shame should apply to every sport. Sport is sport, politics is politics, and let's try and keep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan, I was a bit upset and also just a bit saddened. It's the English national team that this is how they chose to deal with another country.
Yeah, no, I think I should agree with you there. I didn't make the joke about none of them standing, which I think you'll appreciate.
Very good.
But at the same time, it did seem a bit of a not a very pleasant and sporting thing to do. And you could say, well, you know, we're just expressing our views on the politics happening in another country, but it does feel like a separate thing. It is just people playing sport. I mean, would they do that to other countries which they had things that they disagree with happening?
If they're playing China, or who treatments of the Uyghurs.
I get the feeling they wouldn't do the same thing, but, you know.
No, and I don't. And also, it should be saying, if you look at that photo there, you'll see Israel is this whole idea of white nationalism, whatever. That's the Israeli team at the front there. And we're talking about predominantly a brown country. Essentially, most Jews in Israel come from the Middle East, and also that team is made up of Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs. Them turning their back, I think, is disgraceful.
Well, it just feels like such a cheap way to score your points. You know, it's clearly not coming from above. It looks like it was just the players that chose to. So I guess maybe it's even just one person saying, "Hey lads, I've got an idea," and it's causing so much trouble, isn't it, for this kind of cheap gesture? No.
And also, there's an irony here in that the person who actually started the Paralympics was Jewish. So,
didn't know that.
So there. British wheelchair basketball.
Who won the game? Who won the match?
England won. Yay! No, all right. So a British wheelchair basketball spokesman said British wheelchair basketball is aware of this incident during the Israeli national anthem at the Nations Cup. We are continuing discussions internally after conversations with Paralympics GB, IWBF and the Israeli Paralympic Committee. Our next question is from Anton.
Should criminals be banned from watching football?
Should criminals be banned from watching football? Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood wants to ban criminals from football matches, pubs and concerts under tougher sentencing reforms. We actually saw this story in the news. Also, what else do you think that should be banned? Because this is people getting out on bail early. That's part of these reforms, is that people will stay in jail for less time, but they'll come out.
But they're not allowed any fun.
No fry-ups.
Exactly. They're not allowed Easter eggs at Easter.
And you have to go and see Taylor Swift, whether you want to or not.
You have to, no sweets.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a very sort of, let's put this in the papers. Look, we're cracking down, we're being tough. Maybe staying away from rowdy environments might be a good thing for some people, but I think that's already the case, isn't it? If, for example, if you've got a driving ban, it's likely to be linked to a driving offence.
And what this does is it takes away those linkages, so you can
just at random
make bans on other stuff as well, even if it's not related. What do you think, Jonathan? You think this is tough on crime?
Tough on crime.
Can't watch the latest season of White Lotus?
Yeah, that'd be... I can't go to the V&A on the weekend and get an egg mayonnaise sandwich. It'd be terrible. Well, as a hardened criminal myself, I'm not a big football fan, so, I'm not personally worried, but at the same time, just let the children be wild and free, because as the old saying goes, let the children be wild and free.
Wow. OK. Jonathan should be banned from going to the pub in the middle of the show.
I'm on shrooms.
Our next question is from Melvin.
Good evening. Should Labour councillors quit WhatsApp?
Yes, should Labour councillors quit WhatsApp? So, veteran Labour councillor has quit the party because he says he was thrown under the bus after whistleblowing to party chiefs about a WhatsApp group where sexist, racist and homophobic jokes were made. This is actually a little bit more complicated. Are you familiar with the story, Melvin?
Yes.
It seems like he's actually left the party because he's the initial whistleblower. Is that right?
Oh.
And he thinks that they kind of threw him under the bus by including him in the investigation, and they won't change their statement. They kind of not condemned him, but they basically said because he went to the press afterwards, that's why he's been kind of given this caution. And he says, I want you to say this has got nothing to do with me at all. What do you think about this guy?
Well, he's not going to win, is he? That's number one. He's by himself. And also, I think that they should still be on WhatsApp, the Labour councillors, because some people are interested in what Labour got to say. But on the private ones, they shouldn't, because they can't trust each other to keep it
Yeah, fair enough. Well, look, you can send me what you really think on WhatsApp.
Thank you.
I think he's Kristen, these WhatsApp groups just getting everybody into trouble. But
it always causes trouble for politicians. Don't do it.
Don't be on WhatsApp groups.
I miss Leo.
We're all in, WhatsApp groups, for better or worse, and you've got one chance, haven't you, to dob your mates in? You could one chance in your life. After that, you'll never be trusted again.
Of course.
Don't waste it.
Yeah, don't waste it.
And arguably, this guy, he was a whistleblower. He's in 2022. He said this is disgraceful and went off.
The term is snitch. He's a snitch, and he got stitches. I mean, the group was called Trigger Me Timbers, which is hilarious. That's a great name for a WhatsApp group. If that group's been disbanded, I might start using that.
That could be your new band.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he told on his friends or co-workers, and then he got in trouble as well. So,
And as usual, we've got no idea what the WhatsApps actually said, so we don't really...
They said
we don't know what he said, but...
They said someone was too Jewy, and I say that about Josh the whole time.
I can't believe that's coming from you. Of all people, even though you do like bacon. All right, so our next question, our final question... Actually, no, I want to maybe do one more quickly afterwards. Our final question... next question is from Eve, and I want one more, if that's OK, if you don't mind reading it. But, yes, Eve, hello.
Do operas with servants need trigger warnings?
Yes, do operas with servants need trigger warnings? The organisers of the Glyndebourne Festival Opera have issued a trigger warning for The Marriage of Figaro, telling audiences to expect themes of imbalance of power between masters and servants, unwanted sexual advances and physically aggressive behaviour. So, what do you think about this? I mean, we always have stories about these trigger warnings, but if anyone who's going to the opera... Now to get a trigger warning that there might be servants in it and an imbalance in power, I mean, what opera is not going to get a trigger warning?
I think they'll all get them. I think it's anti-Mozart, anti-art, anti-opera. Aren't we going to broaden our horizons and be provoked or stimulated or shocked? I mean,
absolutely. Well, look, I wish I'd issued a trigger warning before you'd said all of that. Cresta, we always do trigger warning stories.
Do trigger warnings, but not usually for something that's about £300 for a ticket. I mean, is it appropriate to worry about power imbalances when you've got an audience full of people?
If you can afford £300 for your Mozart opera, perhaps you're the person who's actually doing pretty well out of this power imbalance.
I think you might be. Yeah. I think the trigger warning belongs at the box office for the ticket.
They probably got their servants to read the trigger warnings. What do you think? You're a big fan of Figaro, aren't you? Figaro?
Yeah, no, I like Figaro, but I think there's that's fine. Look, that's fine. I'm actually going to take the opposite view because I think having servants in a show can be quite triggering because it reminds me that mine got deported when she stole one of my mum's rings. So yeah, it's a sad thing and it brings up quite a lot of bad memories.
Oh, I miss my wife. So, Eve, would you mind passing the microphone to this gentleman at the back here? We're just going to have one more final question. Is that all right? No. Who wanted to ask it? You did want to ask a question about lanyards. Is that OK? We were just talking about it in the interval.
Say something outrageous.
Yeah.
Should servants wear rainbow lanyards when their job is to be politically unbiased?
Yes, so should civil servants wear rainbow lanyards? Now, we have covered this before in the past, but of course there's a contradiction here, Cresta, right? If you're wearing...
You should wear them so you know who you're dealing with. A lanyard is a fine marker. And you're not going to get any help. Yes, exactly.
Do you have a feeling about this? Is this something that's personal to you?
I've nearly got in trouble, so that's not comment.
OK, fine, fair enough. Someone who's wearing a lanyard at the back.
I think you should be completely allowed to wear a rainbow lanyard, but you should have to do one gay act if you wear it. Otherwise, you're not allowed to wear it.
Now, what would that gay act be?
Probably a mega blozzer.
Don't encourage it.
Yeah, I know, that's
I'll show you in the break, Josh.
I'm going to read a reply from Glyndebourne Opera, by the way. They said there's been positive feedback from those who found the information helpful, with a spokesman adding, it is now common within the performing arts to share guidance on the content of a production to ensure that audiences are able to make an informed choice, especially those new to a particular work or interpretation. So, next on Free Speech Nation, should it be against the law to blast music on public transport, or do you think they should get the death penalty? Find out in 2 minutes. That's our next debate. You don't want to miss it. See you in 2 minutes.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. In Ireland this week, rail passengers face a €100 fine if they play music or videos out loud on their phones. No more tinny TikToks or booming FaceTimes disturbing everyone on the train. Now, the Liberal Democrats want the same here in England, calling for fines of up to £1,000 for noise polluters on buses and trains. Polling shows more than a third of us have had to put up with it, and most don't even feel comfortable asking people to turn the volume down. But should it be against the law to blast music on public transport? Joining me to debate this is Assembly Member Alex Georgiou and Head of Media Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. So, Alex, how do you feel about this? Because I think most people, when they hear people playing music on the train, it makes your blood boil. And then being British, you kind of sit there in anger and don't do anything.
Yeah, I'm about to destroy my political career by agreeing with the Liberal Democrats on this for the simple reason, you know, look, where this topic came up recently in my family, my young cousin Iona, young woman starting her career, she wants to work on the underground when she's going in, coming back. And when you've got groups of young men playing loud music, being antisocial, being intimidated, as you said, people aren't going to stop.
It's also young women. I've seen many young women doing it as well.
Well, you know, whoever it is, the fact is, it's antisocial. People don't like it. Most Londoners don't like it. And in fact, there already are bylaws. But knowing useless Sadiq Khan, do you know how many people have been prosecuted or even fined? 2 since it came in. So the fact is, even if it did come in across the UK, we need better enforcement.
Well, is that what it's about? Do you think that an actual law... I mean, it seems sad that we need a law to enforce something that people would argue is just good manners.
Exactly, it is good manners, and it's about being a good person. I mean, I'm totally with you on the fact that I think it's really annoying. I've seen it so many times. I was on a bus the other day, and people just scrolling on TikTok out loud, and I'm like, how? This feels like a fever dream. How do people not get frustrated by this? But fundamentally, the question is, should we then make this a law? Should we make it illegal for somebody to be able to play music out loud on their phone? And I don't think that should be the case for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think it's illiberal. I think basically the government telling adults what they can and cannot do with their own lives and with their own mobile phones and their own devices, I think is entirely liberal. And in a free country, we shouldn't have a law like that. But actually, just more practically, the police are already extraordinarily useless. They do absolutely nothing when it comes to actual physical crime. We see threats of violence all of the time and nothing is happening. We know that burglaries are extraordinarily high. We know people are getting their phones snatched all of the time. I don't want another law that allows the police to then waste time on not actually solving proper crime that Londoners care about.
OK, fair enough, but isn't it the case that you set the law, it sets the precedent? Do you think that giving the police the option... You already said that there are the bylaws that are already there, but they're not being enforced. No. Is it part of the larger thing of, you know, we saw this whole thing a few months ago of people not paying their tube or train fares? This is a breakdown of the social contract, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think where we are as a city and a country, as I say, you alluded to at the beginning, people are too afraid to say anything. Whereas when I was growing up, you'd definitely be told off if you're a youngster playing loud music. Not that we had iPhones back then, but that's not the point. You know, there is a breakdown. And I think Reem is right to an extent on the point that, look, a phone is stolen every 6 minutes in London. There are issues. The police, and it's not their fault, we've got a useless mayor of London that isn't doing enough to get them into shape to go and fight crime in our city.
But is the issue here the mayor of London, Raheem? Because isn't it just that someone is not telling children, certainly, look, this is wrong, this is out of this is rude doing this.
I think there are a couple of aspects to this. So I am a resident young person, I'm 23, and I think that one of the parts of this is that there is a bit of a disregard for social cohesion, right? If you are a young person, you seem to just completely disregard what adults tell you. And look, it's sort of like a teenager, right? If you're a teenager, you might huff and puff and say, you know, I don't want to listen to what mum and dad say. But that attitude is continuing into their 20s and their 30s. You've got millennials these days that are behaving in exactly the same way.
So we have an entitled generations, or multiple entitled
I think we do have an entitled generation. We also have a huge numbers of young people that are economically inactive, so of course they've got nothing better to do than scroll on their phones on public transport. Now, the question is, whose fault is it, right? I think part of it is a cultural breakdown. This is occurring across the entirety of the West. That needs to be addressed, but it shouldn't be addressed by the government. I'm a libertarian. I don't think that the government should be involved.
So who do you think should address it, then?
I think part of the problem here is actually the fact that we have so many different laws. The more laws, the more time police can waste, right? That is the fundamental point here. And when you have the Metropolitan Police effectively policing people's speech, telling them what they can and cannot do with their own lives, you've got the new tobacco and vapes bill that are going to ban tobacco for the next generation. You've got new laws that are infantilising people every single day. Adding another one to that will just worsen and exacerbate the problem.
Well, it's interesting. It's infantilising people, but it's infantilising people who are infants or behaving like infants.
Look, I believe in the broken windows theory of policing, right? You deal with the
break lots of windows.
Well,
oh no, not that one.
There is in London in burglaries at the moment. But I believe in the broken windows theory, which is essentially is if you don't deal with the broken windows, then crime gets worse, antisocial behaviour gets worse, and you have a myriad of issues.
The crime is already worse, and nothing is happening.
That doesn't mean that
police have no time to police anything already, and I think that adding another law would just ruin that.
You're having a pop at the police. Quite frankly, Khan's going to, I think, 3,000 police staff and officers are going to be cut from our streets over the next year. So I agree with you that the Met should...
So why do you want to waste their time?
Well, I'm not being funny. You know why? Because we've had a series of politicians in this country talk a big game, but don't put pressure on the services to say, go and enforce this and measure the metrics.
So how would you do that with this situation? How would you enforce it?
Well, I think the point is if the law existed, then at least they have something proper to be able to enforce.
I don't believe that if we create a new law, all of a sudden that is what happens, right? How many laws do we have at the moment that are broken every single day? This is just one other example of that. I don't believe adding this law will do anything. I think we need to actually attack what is really happening here, which is a breakdown of our culture. And I think across the West, we're seeing this. It's a complete disregard for social cohesion, a complete disregard for our elders, respect for older people in our lives. I think young people these days are quite frankly frankly, totally up themselves in some of these situations. I think we need to be honest about that, and I don't think adding yet another law and regulation and restriction is going to help that. Police already waste enough time as it is on completely nonsense laws. Let's not add another one.
Alex, would you say that, would you agree with that, that it's not really about laws and the police action, that this needs to start possibly earlier?
Look, I think the bulk of the issues with young people start at home. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And, you know, we do have, to some extent, a broken society where kids are no longer taught, actually, if you do this, you deserve to be disciplined. And trust me, I enforce that at home. When my kids step out of line, they're told off.
I'm sure you're very strict, Dad.
Oh, I try to be I try to be the fun parent as well. I don't always get away with it. You know, they sneak some chocolates when their mum's not looking. But the point being is that where I agree with Reem is that these problems do start at home and they need to be enforced at home by their parents. But equally, we do need laws. Yes, new laws, but they need to be enforced, because they're not enforced.
How would you enforce
people
this
get away
one?
with it? Well, we've got the British Transport Police, we've got the Met Police, we've got TfL staff.
But what would you do differently compared to now?
Reem, I've got a great example for you. Why did it take Robert Jenrick to do a video about fare dodging, and lo and behold, it's all kicked off, and now fines have gone up by 55%. So the laws exist, and new laws can work, but they have to be enforced.
So do you think it's about enforcement then? But you're saying too many laws, there's just not going to be that enforcement. That's a good. When it is enforced, it works, right?
Well, indeed, but this is the point, right? Police resources are already being constrained, and I don't actually blame individual police officers that risk their lives every single day.
I don't think Alex.
Yeah, no, I don't think we are either. But what I do blame is the fact that the size of the state is far too big, and when you add new regulations like this, you're wasting police time. The fact that police are wasting their time on things like freedom of expression, you know, the fact that they are wasting their time investigating hate crime, logging non-crime hate incidents, these are huge wastes of time. And quite frankly, I would rather the police be focusing on rapes, murders, stabbings, and, you know, potentially also phone theft, robbery, burglary, not people playing music on their phone.
I just don't agree that it necessarily has to be one or the other. Alex, let's widen this scope a little bit. What about football chants? You're on a train, you're with little kids. I've been in this situation. You have large groups of men shouting for hours on end, making these football chants, arguably very disturbing. And frankly, if I went up and said, look, guys, I've got some kids here, do you mind just keeping it down? Who knows what might have happened. So it's not just
this exact thing happened to me today, by the way. I was at Nottingham Forest were playing this evening, and I think that the Nottingham Forest fans were screaming on the on the train. Of course they were. And this mum came over and said, "Look, I've got my baby, and you're like swearing. Please, can you quieten down?" And they just completely ignored her.
Yeah, look, I think, look.
Go Nottingham Forest.
I think the language was a bit more, a bit worse than that.
I'm an Arsenal supporter, so I don't chant down when I'm in Tottenham visiting my grandmother. But look, you know, look, there is a fine line, isn't there? I'm entirely pro freedom of speech, and I know you've been running a lot of stuff on the Lucy Connelly stuff. This debate will be ranging on for a long time, given what the government wants to do with free speech laws and the new online safety bill. So my view very much is there is a line, isn't there? If you've got a bunch of football supporters chanting, they're having a good time, that's one thing. They're with a group of mates, that's a very different...
But there are people who might be intimidated by that.
No, absolutely. But there are people, when we hear violent abuse, when we hear anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, all sorts of things chanted on the train, what happens? Next to nothing. So my point being is there is a fine line. There is a difference between a bit of friendly banter or people intimidating, inciting violence, saying rude things in front of children.
But it shouldn't be made illegal, and that's the point. We should all learn to respect one another. We should be brought up culturally to understand how you treat another human being. But the question is, should this be a law? And I'm saying no.
I'd just be interested to see if something like this becomes a free speech issue in terms of I should be able to shout about the team that I support, and if that is shut down, that's freedom of expression.
Can I sing my musical theatre songs on the train as loud as I can?
You do now if you want.
Does that restrict my freedom of expression?
As long as it's not the Marriage of Figaro, because that's incredibly...
No, of course not. I'm a Chicago girl.
Look, it's in the name, right? Public transport system. It's for the use and benefit of everyone that wants to go onto it. So look, we just want safe, free, clean environments for people to use every day, commute, go about their daily lives, have a bit of fun, go to the theatre, whatever. The point is, there is a fine line, as you say, and I'm not disagreeing on that. It's not black and white at all. But these new bylaws that we've got in London need to be enforced. Because actually, where I agree with Reem, if they're not enforced, what's the point?
Yeah, fair enough. Will you agree with that as well?
I would agree, but I also think that the law shouldn't exist in the first place, right? I think we need to have that kind of conversation about what liberty looks like, and fundamentally, we need to have a question about what that looks like when it comes to these particular restrictions. And I think that this kind of law would just completely waste police time and resources.
OK, well, look, I have to say, I think we lock them all up. Thank you very much. That's Assembly Member Ali Georgiou and Head of Media for the Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim. Thank you very much, guys. Next on Free Speech Nation, Germany and America find themselves struggling to tackle some fresh trans controversies, including the dilemma of whether to put a trans far-right extremist in a men's or women's prison. Stick around for that. See you in 2 minutes.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
A settled few days across much of the Mediterranean, plenty of hot sunshine across most areas. Just the risk of a few showers, a bit breezy across parts of Greece at the moment, but sunny spells stretching across into Italy and western parts of the Mediterranean as well. Just 1 or 2 heavy showers possible, but plenty of dry weather. Again, 1 or 2 showers across Madeira. It generally stays dry the next few days, temperatures near average, but an increasing risk of showers by midweek.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine. It's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland then, there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well, across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning though, a warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. In Germany, a storm has erupted over a convicted far-right extremist and whether they should serve their prison time in a men's or a women's jail. Malu Svenja Likbik, formerly Sven, was jailed for inciting hatred and linked to neo-Nazi groups. But after declaring himself as a female under Germany's new Self-Determination Act, Liebig now expects to enter a women's prison. J.K. Rowling weighed in after the BBC referred to Liebig as she, blasting what she called blind gender ideology that forces the media to label dangerous men as women the moment that they claim it. Joining me now to discuss this is Director of Campaigns for Sex Matters, Fiona Makanena. Fiona, welcome. Fiona, first of all, there's something ironic here, because women who have stood up for their rights over the last 10, 15 years have been labelled as far-right. Now you have an actual far-right person, an actual neo-Nazi now, declaiming themselves to be trans. By that logic, of course, that means that that's all far-right now.
Yeah, well, it's hard to keep up, isn't it? I think we're not sure whether this chap is making a point by saying, look at this stupid law, anyone can take advantage. But he is taking advantage of it, and the women who are in prison with him now, and bear in mind he's been convicted of incitement to violence, the women who are in prison with him are going to have a pretty awful time, and that's what you get when you have self-ID, when anyone can just say, I want my birth certificate.
And that's what people said, like yourself, like other women out there said for years, that's the danger. Is that people will just exploit the system, because guess what? Criminals are bad people.
Well, and in Germany, they can change every 12 months. So he can do his time in a women's prison, then he can change his birth certificate back when he comes out. And I don't know how anyone could think that's not open to exploitation. So even if there are people who truly, sincerely feel that they are the other sex inside, letting anyone change their birth certificate is clearly crazy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is a male, you can see from the photos, he's got a handlebar moustache, but he's essentially wearing a sort of a nice hat.
Yeah, you know, with or without a moustache, frankly, that's not really the critical factor, is it?
No, you're right, I know many women with moustaches. I'm on. So what... No, of course that's not the critical point, and the critical point is the safety of the women who are going to be put into the same space.
And peace of mind, because a lot of women in prison have been victims of male violence themselves. And so to be in the presence of a man, even if he's a castrated man or even if he's a genuinely sincere, you know, person who thinks he's a woman inside, they can't tell that he's not a threat. What they see is a man, and that's terrifying, to be locked up with a man, especially if you've experienced that violence yourself. So it's grossly unfair. The Germans are now seeing what happens. Of course, we've already had this happen in Scotland.
I mean, it very nearly happened here. And I guess it happened probably in the same way in Germany, where they just kind of put the law through.
Well, I hate to say it is still happening here, that there are men who are convicted of, in some cases, violent offences, being in women's prisons here. They just don't happen to have the piece of paper that says they're a woman. Or they may have the piece of paper. They obtained it through our process. Either way, we still have a massive problem.
Well, it's certainly happening in Scotland, because we've talked about this last week, but for women, Scotland are now taking the Scottish Government to court because they are not following the rules set out by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, on that day in April when the Supreme Court ruled that woman means female person, it's based on biology, you don't get to choose halfway through your life, we all celebrated. And I think it's been pretty shocking to see the Scottish Government, who were the defendants in that case, so they lost that case, ignore the ruling. You could not have imagined.
But still, when it comes to prisons in Scotland and when it comes to the educational system and the NHS...
Everything, even in their own workplaces. So the Scottish Government employs, I don't know how many people, a lot, you know, many tens of thousands, and in their offices, they still have policies that say that if a man identifies as a woman, he can use the women's toilets.
Yeah, and closer to home, I mean, closer to London, in England, you're now taking... the City for London, is that right? City of London.
Yes, we're taking the City of London Corporation to court. They are responsible...
This is you, Sex Matters.
Sex Matters. Yeah. They're responsible for the whole of the City of London, but also open spaces across London. And so they run Hampstead Heath. They run the ponds, the public ponds there, famously. There's a ladies' pond, a men's pond and a mixed pond. But they have decided that the ladies' pond is for anyone who says they're a woman. And so basically... they're all mixed ponds. So what you've got there is that basically a man can use any pond he likes, but if there's a woman who does not want to be in that pond with men, she has nowhere to go now. And it's been that way for several years. They are still ignoring the Supreme Court judgment, and so we're going to have to see them in court.
It's incredible, isn't it? That the Supreme Court, it read so clearly what the law was, and yet you have these organisations, these institutions, seemingly so captured, they just won't go along with the actual law of the land. And you are having the company, you're going to have to spend your own money to enforce this.
You know, it's one.
Why is the government not doing it?
Well, this is the bizarre thing. Well, because it's the government, essentially, that's ignoring it. You know, individuals break traffic laws, go through red lights or speed, but this is essentially like the whole government breaking those laws. So the Scottish government is ignoring the ruling. City of London Corporation's ignoring the ruling. Many local authorities across the country are. Someone is going to have to account for themselves in court and then follow the law, because, as you say, the law is very clear.
Now, on the other side of the pond, a story came out this week that I found shocking, where, and let me say this right, there are a film made in a boys' changing room in America, and a girl who identifies as a boy made this film, filming boys who were complaining that they had to change with this girl, and it turns out that the boys have now been suspended for sexual harassment.
Yeah, so this is unusual because it's a girl invading the boys' space and the boys' privacy, just for a change. But it's just as unfair. You know, those boys have a right to expect that there won't be any girls in their changing rooms. She filmed them. On the audio, they say, what's going on, there's a girl here. And yes, they're suspended for that. So it's yet another example of how you're simply not allowed to disagree. That if this girl says she's a boy, then that's her right. I don't know why her rights trump theirs. It seems like having a declaration that you're trans trumps everyone else's rights. And of course, that's what we're here for. You know, we're a human rights charity trying to make sure that everyone's rights are properly considered. But the problem is that we're having to spend money, we're having to raise money to go to court to make these public organisations follow the law. Same is true for Women Scotland. We have to fundraise through our crowdfunders.
Many times it's small donations from this idea that there's some right-wing organisation throwing billions at this.
Yeah, well, actually, we're funding it both ways, guys, because if you contribute to our crowdfunder or for Women Scotland, you're funding our case, but we're all taxpayers. And it's public organisations that we are challenging, so their defence is also funded by us indirectly through our taxes. So it's a pretty scandalous state of affairs. We have to establish a few wins in court, more wins in court, it looks like, before they're going to follow the law.
I just want to say one more thing about this American thing, which was just shocking to me, how one of the boys has had to move to a different district to avoid this suspension. And on top of that, it seems like this is actually going to follow him as he tries to apply to different colleges through America. So now he has a thing on his record saying that he's for sexual discrimination.
And you can be sure that if that girl who says she's trans is getting to use the boys' facilities in that region, in that school district, then there are boys also using the girls' facilities. So what you've got is everything is labelled boys and girls, but it's a free-for-all. Everyone loses their privacy. Everyone loses their peace of mind. In that school district, in fact, there was a case where a girl was sexually assaulted, seriously sexually assaulted by a boy in the girls' toilets, but they still haven't seen sense.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Director of Campaigns for Sex Matters, Fiona McAnena. Next on Free Speech Nation, Disney seeking to win back young men after recent woke installments flop at the box office. The Critical Drinker takes us through the latest in all things film. See you in 2 minutes.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Netflix has released a trailer for season 2.
Why do you read this as if it's actually serious? Netflix has released a season. Your woman
Meghan Markle is back on making a cooking programme that no one has ever watched, right?
Yes.
And then we're all sitting saying, not only is she making that cooking programme, but her husband, where's he?
Well, he's not in it.
Yeah, basically.
But, did you hear?
No, I don't care either.
He doesn't like lobster.
What's that got to do with the price of bread?
That's the big revelation from this trailer.
Well, if that's the best we're going to get, here it is. This is what it's like.
Of these moments of discovery and beauty. So let's be curious together. Do you know who doesn't like lobster?
Who?
My husband.
And you'll marry him? But can I just say, there's no taste to lobster, really. You can't.
Well, I don't like lobster.
Well, what do you mean? There's nothing to lobster.
I just don't want to work that hard for my food, you know? You have to really crack and dig around.
No, that's a point. No, I agree.
And you get nothing out of it, really.
But you can have all that rubbish they're standing eating there and whatever, the sort of stuff that you would throw up in your street and, well, I mean concoct. I don't mean like throw up as in vomit. But anyway, it could make you. Kinsey Schofield's been across all of this. We go live. Forgive my cynicism with this. I don't care about her and I don't care about her cooking programme. Does that make me really odd?
No, but I did really love Ellie's point about lobster being way too complicated. If I can't microwave it, I just don't find, that's too much effort for me. So, my big takeaway was Daniel, the makeup artist, survived Meghan Markle's bath salts from season 1. I thought that was exciting.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Disney is making a push to win back young male viewers. Marvel superhero films and male-targeted releases like Indiana Jones 5 have struggled, and studio leadership is now pressuring creatives to develop content that appeals specifically to Gen Z men aged 13 to 28. Remember those guys? The recent Snow White remake was a major setback, criticised for woke changes, over-reliance on CGI and failing to resonate with audiences. Meanwhile, rivals like Warner Brothers are thriving with films such as Superman and Minecraft, capturing the attention of young men at the box office. So, Critical Drinker, very famous online reviewer, is trying to join us at the moment, but I am joined by maybe the biggest Marvel and Star Wars fan that I know, Cresta Wetton. So... Cresta, there's something ironic here where Disney spent billions investing in two of the most kind of arguably male-orientated franchises, superheroes and Star Wars, and just absolutely messed them up to the point where now boys don't want to watch it.
We all know what boys like, don't we?
We're idiots.
You like explosions and fast cars and watching other boys do that.
And Sydney Sweeney's jeans.
Well, I was going to try and keep it clean, but obviously Jonathan's here, so there's other things boys like. So it doesn't seem that difficult to correct to me.
What,
it seems like they know what to do.
What do you think, John? Then do a Star Wars movie where there's a man in it?
I mean, I guess it is a big universe out there. It is possible. I think really what they've done is they've told young boys across the media that they're the worst people in the whole world. And whether that's through parts of education or within the media or within cinema. And here we have just the pushback to that. Boys don't want to see stories where they're kind of belittled and not at all important, and where women are perfect and there's girl bosses every which way. So I think there is a pushback to that.
But also, I think I think young women might also be slightly alienated by this constant messaging, where it seems that girls are perfect and can do no wrong.
Yeah, it's tiring. Come on. Some of us are Bridget Jones in private, guys. Yeah, of course. I mean, it just doesn't feel true most of the time for most people. Of course, there's outliers. If you want to be a female mechanic, that's great. Go ahead. But it's not. There's something in us that we know we're sort of being told something that's not quite true, don't we? We can't identify with the archetypal characters anymore.
Yeah, there are good men and bad men, and there are good women and bad women.
Yes.
Yeah, it's. Do you think that have you given any thought to what kind of IP, intellectual property, the Disney might want to invest in?
Well, like you said, they've taken two of the biggest ones that were the most popular with young men, essentially driven them into the ground. And Lord of the Rings that's happened to Lord of the Rings with Amazon Prime. I think it might be a case of just starting again, coming up with new IP and just seeing what can be done.
Yeah, that would require
artists and writers.
Publishing. Captured organisations. Interestingly, the comic book industry is somewhat catching up in that their sales tanked. Now they're a traditional audience, and they tried to win a new audience with young women, and I think that's great. And there are some really good female comic characters. But they kind of also then made all the male characters in the comic books that says women. So you had Thor became Lady Thor, and it got ridiculous to the point where boys or 50-year-old men just couldn't see themselves anymore.
We had people talking about a female James Bond again this week, haven't we? Which is one of those tiresome. It's like,
Licence to Shrill.
Well, he's so male, isn't he? That's like James Bond is as soon as you make it a female, you've changed the game to the point that it's not what it was, and I don't know who it's for.
Well, I would like to see a female James Bond sleeping with lots of women. That's too much.
Too Jewy.
We've crossed the line. Here. There's another interesting story that came out. There's been a review of a new film based on lockdowns. So it's getting good reviews. It's got Joaquin Phoenix. And Pedro, whatever his name, Pascal.
Pedro Pascal.
Whatever it is, who's the guy who's in everything. And it seems to be doing very well, but it's interesting that now we're seeing that era satirised. Do you think that we're now finally ready to acknowledge what went on and the craziness there?
It's too soon. I'm still very angry about lockdowns.
Do you think people are still doing it? You don't think that people can watch a comedy about lockdowns?
Well, yeah, of course they can, if it's well written.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the point of art, I guess, is that we can sort of readdress
You can reprocess our collective trauma through the art of screen, and we can process everything that's happened to us. No, I don't want to watch it.
You wouldn't want to watch it?
No, I don't know. I was taking the mick out of lockdown when it was happening. I was doing that 5 years ago. I didn't wear a mask once.
And by the way, he got.
And I work for the NHS.
He got COVID 20 times. Don't clap that.
Yeah.
And your
just because I had sex with a pangolin one time. No, what do I think? I think everything's fine. Get some men in your films. I've got a film coming out.
Oh, yeah,
next year.
Written a film, yeah.
Yeah, I've written a film with the very talented Daniel O'Reilly. It's about a story about men having a bad time and then a good time and then a bad time again. So it's called Sessions, so check it out.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, Cresta, have you written a film?
No, I haven't. But
Has she heck?
I will be processing this trauma through my written work, of course.
Yeah, when you go to the cinema, does this make any impact on you? what kind of film you
Do you
might
know, the
go to
last
see.
thing I saw that I really enjoyed was at an arty kind of cinema place, which is always a bit hit and miss. You think, oh, I'm going to get told what to think. But they showed Raging Bull, and it was fantastic. They didn't mess about with it. They didn't change any of the problematic bits.
Well, now it's Raging Bull.
My favourite chick flick, Raging Bull. I'm going to recommend Weapons, which is absolutely
I've heard good
brilliant.
things.
So thank you for joining us for Free Speech Nation. Thank you to all of my guests this evening, but not Critical Drinker, who unfortunately couldn't make it, but we'll hopefully get him again. And if you want to join us live in the studio, be part of our wonderful audience, you can. Please go to gbnews.com/tickets. Thank you guys very much for coming. Much appreciated. Stay tuned for the brilliant Ben Leo tonight. That is next. And thank you for watching Free Speech Nation. See you next week. Take care.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a settled night to come with plenty of clear skies. That leads into plenty of sunshine on Monday before turning more unsettled on Tuesday. Now, having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of high pressure dominating Sunday and Monday before being replaced by low pressure in the week. But back to the rest of this evening then. This cloud across much of England will shift its way eastwards and melt away. And then for the vast majority, it's fine, it's dry overnight with lengthy clear skies, still just holding on to some cloud across Shetland. There'll be some mist and fog patches as well, but otherwise temperatures generally holding up and a bit more of a breeze developing out to the west. So to start Monday morning across Scotland, then there'll be some mist and fog patches, but otherwise a much brighter picture here compared to recent days. Likewise for Northern Ireland, a mixture of sunny spells, but a bit more of a breeze developing. And then for Bank Holiday Monday as well across England and Wales, it's fine, it's dry. There is just some cloud lingering across parts of East Anglia. So not much changes throughout much of Monday then. Blue skies for most of us, still some cloud just holding on across Shetland, but a change across Northern Ireland later. Sunny spells, but also this band of rain eventually moving in from the west with stronger winds. Now the winds are coming up from a southerly direction, so actually temperatures are going to be rising. We could see up to 28, 29 degrees, so feeling warm in that sunshine. As we go through Tuesday morning, though, a warm start, but this band of rain will continue to move its way eastwards. Then behind that, a mixture of sunny spells, but also some frequent blustery showers and temperatures falling closer to average. Similar picture on Wednesday and Thursday with longer spells of rain or heavy showers, temperatures around 20 or 21. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.